All right. Welcome to Intellicide.
The post-turkey edition.
How was your Thanksgiving?
It was great, man. It was great. What about yours?
It was really nice. It was nice. It was quiet. Stayed home. My wife made few awesome meals, actually.
Yeah. That's good.
And then, Then yesterday we got out all the Christmas stuff.
Did you cook it all? Did you cook anything?
Honestly, no, I did not. I did not cook it all.
Wow. See, terrible Kyle.
I'm terrible.
Yeah. So I fried the turkey.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I didn't want to. My wife. We were supposed to originally have family over.
Okay.
So she wanted me to fry a turkey because some of them have never had it. So they didn't end up coming or whatever, but I still fried the turkey.
Okay. I've heard they're really good. I've never had fried turkey before, but
they're awesome, man. They're awesome. I mean, The only thing that I don't like is the post frying cleanup.
What do you do with all the oil?
Well, I want to say the first time that I fried it, they took the grease with the trash, but I guess that changed. So one time I didn't do the proper thing and got rid of it. I poured it in a hole in my backyard at my old house.
There's going to be dogs digging holes in that spot for.
No. I mean it. It's my dog didn't do it, but I've been calling around, man. A lot of places don't recycle things that they used to pre-quarantine. Like the small propane tanks. I have a lot of those that they use like during camping or for welding, etc.
Okay.
They don't take those during the quarantine. Huh. And I'm like, well, I got a ton of those.
Yeah, that's weird.
And yeah, they're sitting in my garage or whatever. I'm waiting for an opportunity to return those.
So, man, I mean, there is a big difference in I don't know about you, but personally, I have not done any returnable bottles since the quarantine, since the whole pandemic started. I just put them in the recycling now.
Wow.
They have 10 cents.
Dude, are you serious?
Yeah.
We were holding on to our 10 cents.
Were you really?
Yes.
Yeah. Doesn't bother me that much. It's not that much. We don't go through all that much.
Oh, okay. Well, you're good then, man. My family go through a ton of Coke, so.
Yeah. I got a water cooler that we use, so we go through a lot of water.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good. I need to drink more water.
Yeah, actually, it's one of those water coolers that they sell at Costco. It gives you like instant hot water, cold water, like it cools the water, so it's not like room temperature water. It gives you like, when I was a kid, my dad used to have a water cooler in the house that would like dispense the water, but it didn't cool it or anything, so it was like room temperature water. Yay! But yeah, this is nice.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool, man. Well, you're living a healthy lifestyle with that.
No, we'll see. And then what do? I use it to make coffee.
Well, it's filtered coffee.
It is. It's got filtered water in the coffee. It makes for better coffee. What can I say? I would say a large amount of it does go to that.
Were you supposed to have a family come over or visit anyone during that?
No. And so what we did honestly is so none of the family came over. Everybody kind of stayed home at their own homes, and we all texted with each other all day. And then we had I had a Zoom call with my brother's family, and then we were playing games online and stuff. We were playing some Jackbox games, and we had the kids were all playing Among Us.
So yeah, that's cool. That's cool. And that's one of the things I know we wanted to talk about. Things as far as the holidays and whatnot. So being separated from family is not something.
Wait a sec, for the audience. So what we're going to talk about today is coping mechanisms.
Right.
How do you get along during this pandemic and during the holidays especially? What are people doing to?
Well, as I was saying, it's nothing new to me being in the military. You found yourself being separated from loved ones during holidays. I mean, it sucks. There's no ifs, buts about it, but you learn to deal with it. You still have calls. That's one thing that like you can call people, and now there's so many things where you can video, like Zoom. They got the Facebook portal. They got the Amazon or the Echo Show.
Google. It's like, who doesn't have a video?
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not the same as being there. Nothing will replace that. But
true.
If you can't be there, these are some of the better things. And honestly, people don't call as much as they need to. I know that's one of the things with me. I don't call my mom as much as I should. She ends up calling me the majority of the time. And
really?
Yeah, I kind of feel bad or whatever. So
well, I will tell you from experience that the window for being able to call her is a limited one. Use it while it's open.
Right.
Because once she's not there to call, you spend all of the subsequent holidays wishing she was there to call.
Right. Yeah, you're right. So I need to do better, man. So I'll definitely give them a call this upcoming Christmas. As a matter of fact, I had an aunt call me and say, like, I couldn't get in touch with you. She didn't have she didn't have my cell phone number. She only had the old house number, which we didn't carry over to the new place. So yeah.
So here's a question: do you have a landline?
I used to.
You don't have a landline anymore.
No.
I read somewhere before, and this was a few years ago, that more Americans have an Amazon Prime account than have landlines now.
Yeah. Well, and it's one of those things, man. What I really liked about my landline, remember that big power outage back in 2003?
Yeah.
We had a landline. Now
Right.
The phone, the ringer was electric. So the ringer didn't work. But there was one time where we picked up the receiver and someone had actually was in the middle of trying to call us. And so, the phone, I mean, that's great about those POTS lines.
Yeah.
People don't understand that,
That's funny.
Yeah. If the EMP hits, right. I mean, we're pretty much screwed.
Well, we'll see. Yeah. I don't know, man. I mean, this is this is supposed to be an episode about coping and how to get along. So I don't want to go into that, but the scary make you lose sleep edition.
Well, hey, let me ask you, what kind of games did you all play when you were chatting with your brother?
Oh, so actually the one that the kids liked the most was it's called Drawful.
I've never.
And it's basically like a Pictionary kind of game where you draw on your phone or tablet, and then everybody's got to guess what the drawing is.
Okay.
So that's the one that they like the most.
And it's called Drawful.
There's a couple other games, Fibbage, Fly Swatter.
That's pretty good. I mean, I didn't play any electronic games. A lot of my family distant, they're electronically savvy.
Right. Yeah.
So, but with my family, my nuclear family, we've been playing a lot of board games. One game in particular, Splendor. I don't know if you've heard of that.
I think I have heard of it.
Yeah, it's a pretty good game, man. My daughter actually loves it.
Splendor.
She does. Yeah, she doesn't love it now because I started beating her. she was getting the better end of the deal when we first started playing, but now I'm starting to beat her.
Oh, okay. I've looked at this game before. Yeah, I have not played it.
It's pretty good.
Huh.
Yeah, you should give it a chance.
Interesting. Yeah, it looks like we played. We have the kids' version of Catan.
Yeah, I love
Catan. Playing that. We don't have regular Catan yet, but just the kids' version's enough to.
Well, they like it, right?
Yeah.
Well, your kids are getting up there, man. So maybe next year or two, you move on to the adult version.
Yeah. I bought a few games that, like, honestly, once I bought them, I realized it wasn't really something that I could play with the kids. There was a game somebody at work recommended to me, One Night Werewolf.
Never heard of that. No.
It's a social game. So it's basically like everybody gets these cards that give you a role. One person's a werewolf, and you're trying to figure out like who the werewolf is, but you do it through like talking to each other and asking questions.
Oh, okay.
That's why they call it a social game. But it's not, it's an adult party game. It's not something you play with kids around the table. Unless you kids are grown, then you could,
Have you played Marvel Legendary?
Oh, the deck building game?
Yeah.
Yeah, I played that once with my brother out in California.
Yeah, you don't think your kids would enjoy that?
Maybe. I mean, I got out Magic the Gathering, and they played that for a little while. We bought them their own cards, and honestly, they just...
Well, see, I think Magic the Gathering is a little bit more complex than Marvel Legendary.
Is that, you think that's more complex than Legendary?
I do, just because of the mechanisms that you have to know, and these cards. I mean, if you think Marvel Legendary has a lot of cards, Magic, which has been around for like 30 so years, that's even more so. And then you have to think about, I just think that it's a lot harder than Marvel Legendary, because Marvel Legendary, you don't need like counters for life or mana, stuff like that.
Marvel Legendary. So, okay, that's just an expansion. Yeah, I mean, I've seen it in the store before. Isn't it like a huge box?
Yeah, listen, I've probably spent a good $400 on Marvel Legendary.
Really?
I mean, the base set is $60.
Okay.
Then they've had expansions that have been like $40 dollars. Then the individual, the smaller ones are $20. Yeah, so it's a good amount of money. But I mean, I enjoy it. My daughter, she she was playing with me for a while until I just basically would beat her in my sleep.
Amazing how not fun it becomes when you start losing all the time.
Right. So yeah, I enjoy it though, and I think that it's a game that can take up a lot of time. But again, it's one of those games that you have to be in person. I don't think there's an online version of it.
Yeah. It's there is a bunch of board games and things like that. Actually, the one I think my daughter enjoys the most is Exploding Kittens.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've heard of that.
That's a fun one.
Yeah. Listen, I almost actually bought a Oculus.
Me too, actually. I was thinking about that for Christmas.
I held off on it, but I do think I'll get an Oculus, man, here shortly. One of the reasons is because I think it'll be good exercise, actually. The one game that I think is like Title to Fight or something like that. Title Fight. Yeah. That one I think could be some good exercise, and then that Beat Saber.
Yeah. So is it? I guess I don't know anybody who has it, so I haven't had anybody to ask. But like, you've seen the ads for Beat Saber. Does it require the Oculus that has to hook up to the PC?
No. If you go to the website, they have the two different versions or whatever. The Oculus 2 or the first Oculus will play Beat Saber.
Okay.
Yeah. And right. I don't want to have a cord attached to the headset from my PC. I think that beats the
it's so crazy the stuff they make now. Like they have whole rigs where you can prepare a room for a VR setup where it's got like a thing you put the cord that goes to the headset actually goes to the wall, and it's got like it's elastic, so if you move around it can move. It's crazy.
Yeah. I listen, I don't want to do all that. I just want to be able to, if I play unfettered.
Have you ever read the book Ready Player One?
No, I didn't. I have the electronic copy, but I never started.
Oh, it's a really good book. especially for someone our age, from our generation. I think you'd enjoy it. It's a really good nod to the 80s and pop culture and all that stuff. Because have you seen the movie?
I have seen the movie. Yeah.
Okay, so the movie doesn't do it justice because the movie was limited to Times Warner properties only. So they had to like severely limit like all the stuff that they could use from the book. So the book is actually really good. But what's interesting is the way he describes the way they use VR in the future with haptic suits, which I actually just saw an ad the other day for my first haptic suit, which is basically like a suit you wear that gives you feedback when you're in VR. So if you get shot or somebody punches you, you feel it.
I think that's the ultimate goal in some of these video games, but think about the money and time required to play a game like that. As a matter of fact, that one movie Gamer, I really, it's not like a cinematic masterpiece, but it shows some of the pitfalls with living that kind of lifestyle based around a virtual world.
That's the one with
Gerard Butler.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You know what's funny? I've seen the movie. I can't remember anything about it.
Oh wow. Yeah. The one thing that comes to mind to me is the one female character that was played by a man or whatever. And just like how you're saying, you could feel what your virtual character was going through, and this guy would get off on what was going on with his character. So I'll leave it at that. I know that we might have
there was another movie that had oh wow, this is gonna bug me now. There was another movie about people who basically use like robots. They like sit in a chair and they upload themselves and live life through.
Wasn't that the one with the with Bruce Willis?
Yes, that was.
Okay. Replicas, I think it was.
Yes, Replicas.
Okay. Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
But and that had the same kind of thing, right? Where it's like they had the person driving the beautiful woman avatar was,
Listen, and I don't want to go too far down this rabbit trail, but what's funny to me is that those movies are highlighting the people that don't want to live in their own world.
Right.
And listen, 2020 has been bad for many people. It's a year like, let's just like get out of 2020 and things will be okay. But there's still a lot of things that you can enjoy, that you can still take pleasure in. I mean, one of the things that we didn't mention, but you brought it up, is a book. I used to be a voracious reader when I was younger. And this is one of those things where, you could pick up a book and that can take you to plenty of worlds or whatever. The imagination, like you said, like the book, the movie didn't do the book justice. Very few films ever do any book justice. I mean, it just can't, the range of emotion and everything that you can read in a book. I mean, it's just a picture can't detail that for you, because everybody takes something different, from it.
Yeah. So what was the last book you read?
I actually started reading a book that I had read before. What's it called? The Fifth Ring. It's a very matter of fact, let me it's by Mitchell Graham. I actually like this book. It's a series, but it's about a young, farmer or whatever. He gets caught up in events that are far over his head, but he has this powerful ring that allows him to tap into machinery that, it doesn't say that it's based on Earth, but that's the way I look at it. Like, if we develop over 1,000 so years and have these machines, and we have these rings that control them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what ends up happening in this book. And they keep talking about the ancients, where they destroyed themselves, and from what some of the things that they describe, it reminds me of Earth.
Right.
But yeah, I started reading that book again.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It reminds me of, did you ever read, so this is an interesting series. You ever read the Chronicles of Thomas Covenant?
That sounds familiar. Didn't he have some kind of like disease or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the white gold ring.
Yeah.
Series, and it's about a guy. I thought it was fascinating when I read it when I was a kid. It's a really good series, but the main character, it's this, kind of Narnia-esque thing where the guy can go back and forth between the real world and a fantasy world. But in the real world, he has leprosy.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting because, you read about it. I grew up, Catholic, you hear about leprosy. I grew up hearing about leprosy my whole childhood, in the Bible, and never really knew what it was. Until I read that. I thought that was fascinating.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's been a while since I read that book too. What was the other book that Furies of Calderon? Have you ever read that?
Yeah.
Oh man, I love that series, man.
It's Jim Butcher, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because
I think you actually got me into that series when we were.
Yeah, man. Listen. I read that series. The first, like, you didn't even know where it was gonna go. Like, you read the first one and you're like, this is just like any other fantasy series. And then by the second one, you're like, whoa,
yeah, he's good. So, did you ever read the Dresden Files?
No.
It's Jim Butcher, one of Jim Butcher's other series. It's funny. So I was. He just came out with a new book, 2 new books actually this year, for the Dresden Files, which is like books. I want to say it's like 18 books now. So it's like, it's deep into the series, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I was, it was funny. I'm embarrassed myself here, but I was reading that book last week, and I'm sitting there, the newest book, book 18, Battleground, just came out in September, and I was just reading it, and it has a certain scene in it that's like the culmination of literally like a relationship that was like over the last 18 books, and it was a pretty emotional scene, and I'm sitting there, reading the book, and I get tears streaming down my face, and my wife walks in the room and sees me, and she's like, "Oh my God, what's wrong?" And I have to explain nothing. I'm just reading a book.
Right. Hey, listen, I mean, but listen, there's been a lot of books that I've actually shed a tear over. I mean, it's funny, but the Harry Potter series where Dobby died. Listen, I cried a tear, man. I shed a tear at that.
Everybody feels for Dobby, right?
Dude, I mean, it was just like, man, like, that kind of surprised me. The other one was when the one twin died.
Okay.
Yeah. Then another series that I cried over, and this has been years ago, but what is the Chronicles of Puritan?
I don't think I know.
It's like a children's book.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I cried over that too.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of, you brought up Harry Potter. Pardon me. Speaking of Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling just came out with a new book called The Ichabod. I actually recommend it. It's actually really good. I just finished that. Really? Actually, that was. I mean, I don't know. I guess it's supposed to be a kid's book, but it's. Personally, my takeaway was that I could tell that she'd been reading some George R.R. Martin.
Man, oh my goodness! So check this out. I've been trading a lot of my old movies and books to Second and Charles. I just don't have the space. I
mean, we love going there. Well, we did pre-pandemic, yeah.
Right. behind me, and it's full, man. So they took a lot of my books last time I went, and so I just took the movies and books that they didn't take out to the little free bin that they had out there.
Oh, okay.
So this guy that had been in front of me, he's out there and he's got like some hardcovers of George R.R. Martin's series.
Oh, okay.
And he's like, hey, do you want these books? I said, no. I said, I traded mine in, and that guy's a bum because it's taking him 10 years to complete one book. Listen, man, I started reading this series, in the early 90s?
Mm-hmm.
The early 90s, man. It's 2020, bro. Like that. Listen, finish the series, man. I mean, Robert Jordan, this man was sick as can be.
At least
and wrote 12 books. He wrote 12 books.
Right.
In almost the exact same time that you've written, 6?
Mm-hmm.
Come on, man. It's ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous.
That's funny. So if he comes out with the next book, if he finishes the story, are you going to get it?
I probably will, man. But I'll say this: when the Game of Thrones series, HBO series first came out,
mm-hmm.
he already had 2 or 3 books written at that point. I think. Matter of fact, it might even been 4. And you're telling me that they went through 8 seasons, 7.5. As a matter of fact, I want to say 1 year, it was over a year that they didn't release any shows. You're telling me that you couldn't finish this series in that time?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
he went back and wrote a prequel during that time.
He matter of fact, he wrote I want to say 3 prequels. He wrote I mean, he did so many convention appearances and stuff like that. It's like, listen, I get it. I understand you're basking in the glow of fame and fortune now that this, because if you look at his history, he's been writing a long time.
Right.
And I don't think that he ever saw any success as he did with this Song of Fire and Ice series.
Yeah.
But he allowed himself, to me, this is what I think. I'm not saying that this is true, but my thoughts on this is that he allowed himself to be distracted by those things instead of finishing the series. And he's multiple times has said, if I die before I finish it, then oh well, it won't be finished. And it's like a big screw you to the fans. It's like, dude, you've had people who have read this for over 20 years, man. Like, are you serious now?
Yeah.
It's a shame.
Did you read the end that Brandon Sanderson did for when he finished Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time?
Yeah, I did. I mean, listen, if anything, that's the book that I wish that they would turn, like Amazon would pick that up and turn into some kind of fantasy series. I heard that there was right, but I mean, like, it has, man, that series would have to go on for so long to do it any kind of justice.
I don't know. I mean, so, I mean, my personal opinion is there are like 3 or 4 books in the middle there that you could just cut out completely and not really lose anything from the story.
Even if you cut out 3 books, I mean, if you said we want to do a season per book, at least, you're still talking about 10 to 11 books. Because the total series was 14 books.
Right.
So, I mean, I just don't want to see them, try to, because like Amazon has gotten a bad history or whatever reputation, like Netflix, with canceling some of these series that people love. They love. Right. And they've canceled it. Like, the whole, I believe the Marvel thing, that had a lot to do outside of their control. I do believe that Marvel or Disney wants to create their own series on Disney Plus.
For what?
For these Marvel shows that used to be on Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that would be, we'll see. I've heard that they'd approach the guy who played Daredevil.
Uh-huh.
So we'll see. I wouldn't mind, that I thought that would be cool if they make an appearance in like, Doctor Strange. That's actually, from what I've heard, is going to be a movie where they introduce quite a bit.
Well, I hope they do. I mean, think about it, man. That a lot of people, yeah, Daredevil was cool, but it wasn't my favorite show. I actually liked Luke Cage and Jessica Jones more.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of Luke Cage, he's in another series on Netflix that I don't know if I can't remember the name of it now. Oh, Evil.
Evil. I've seen that. Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, it is. But and that's why I don't think that he's gonna reprise that role, man, because that show is actually doing pretty good.
Yeah. He's got other opportunities out there. I don't know that he's going to want to go. Although he would be, it is one of those things. I personally was thinking, like, wouldn't it have been great in the middle of like the end game battle? Like you just like all of a sudden they're panning over the crowd and there's Luke Cage and Daredevil.
Well, dude, they listen. They had a lot of opportunities to introduce those characters into the films, for sure, or actually have some of those characters appear on those Netflix series.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's one of the reasons why they wanted under their own umbrella. And I think the X-Men movies are a good example of what happens when you have those properties under the control of different companies.
Yeah, a lot of those movies. I mean, it's funny that they're hit and miss. Like, right, like the Spider-Man movies were really hit and miss. I mean, there's Tobey Maguire or what's his name, the guy who played in the Amazing Spider-Man. It's funny. I just had this conversation with my brother, and he was telling me that guy is his favorite version of Spider-Man.
Garfield, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. He used to date Emma Stone.
Yeah. He thought they had like the best chemistry, of a couple, in the Spider-Man movies, which, he wasn't bad. I didn't dislike him. I just, it is one of those things where it matters, I think, who owns it. Because personally, my favorite is the Marvel version of Spider-Man, the current one. I just think he's the most. All the other two, honestly, have been grown-ups in comparison. He's the most kid-like, and that's supposed to be the thing, right? When Spider-Man starts out, he's a 16-year-old, right?
This is the thing with these movies, man. If your plan is to do like, I want to make 3 or 4 movies. The problem that Hollywood has is you don't know whether this is going to be a blockbuster or not.
Yeah.
Especially when you have to count in or factor in the advertising costs, marketing costs, the special effects, the actor salaries is probably at this point a low end consideration. But if you producing this movie or making this movie costs you 100 to 150 million, you wanted to clear at least 200 or more million just to say, okay, we made a profit. And if it sucks, then right, we're not going to make any more. But I've always thought that one way that you can combat like some of these actors leaving or not wanting to do the role long term is to lock them up to a long term deal. Hey, if we make 4 or 5 films, we'll give you a lot. Maybe we'll give you $50 to $75 million or whatever. And okay, right, I'm there.
I'm surprised they don't do that more often. Like start out saying, in the initial contract, like, look, you'll start, especially with the unknown actors, like Andrew Garfield, and to say like, look, you'll get like a small amount for the first movie, and if it hits X benchmark, we're going to make a second movie, and if we do a second movie, you'll make this much.
Right.
But you have to commit to doing those movies. Like if all of these things, like, so when you sign the contract, you're saying, so if this movie does well, then we're going to keep doing, and you could do up to like, say 6 movies, whatever.
Right.
That way, if the movie bombs, then you just go up, didn't make the didn't hit the mark. So we're just not going to do another one.
Yeah. I think that could work. Because when you talking about like, the Avengers, those films. I mean, that was over 10 years that those,
yeah.
those
I mean,
movies.
that's kind of the problem too, right? With doing a movie like that. Like if you get a Spider-Man, right? Like now I'm blanking on the kid who plays him today.
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland, thank you.
Yeah.
You get a Tom Holland who he's young and fresh in the first time he's on screen.
Right.
But if you didn't lock him into another movie and you don't immediately start filming the next movie, then you have like a 16-year-old in episode 1 and a 19-year-old, like an obviously 19-year-old in the second movie, so it's like you've got to like hurry up and jump on those.
I mean, or you can make, like these Avatar films. Because, one of the things that I don't like is, and this is especially true of the last set of Star Wars films, you have this blockbuster that, nobody could envision back in 1979 that Star Wars would take off the way that it did. But, even so, 77, what I mean, so you make this. I think Empire Strikes Back came out in 1980, didn't it?
What's that?
Empire Strikes Back might have came out in 1980 or whatever, right?
I think Empire was 79 or 80.
Yeah, okay.
I think 79 actually.
Yeah.
And then I think Return was 81.
Okay. So, but you see what happened when, you made those movies and then you don't even get back to the original cast of characters until like 30 something odd years later. As a matter of fact, more than like it might have been 40 years.
Yeah.
So, and they're right. Harrison Ford was done with it. Carrie Fisher, she passed away. Like that's the consequence that you may have. And like, you actually need to be tapping into this, this I don't know, vein of good fortune when the iron's hot. Don't wait that long, man. You never know what's gonna happen. Film like Avatar is one of my favorite films. Look how long it's been since that first movie came out, and now they're filming like 3 films back to back to back.
Well, personally, I prefer the cartoon. I thought Korra was pretty good too.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Boom, boom, boom. But yeah, I just, I really do think that Hollywood needs to rethink their model. It's nothing more to if you actually think that you're going to have a blockbuster on your hands, film 2 movies back to back or whatever. You release
especially
one,
if you're putting that much into a movie, the returns that you get for like putting in the extra work for a second movie, like you get a better return for booking the time for the CGI and the computers and all that stuff to just do 2 movies worth at once.
Right.
But I don't know. I mean, it is one of those things. You do the time for the people to do it is one of the big expenses, and I know that. I don't know. If you're going to do a movie like Avatar, like a big CGI heavy movie like that, then I'm of the opinion. I don't understand why they don't just do. If you're going to do a movie like that, and that there's a script for 2, just do it. Right. Unless it's one of those movies, and I'm also of the opinion though, there are some movies that they just should not be remaking. That just does not need to be remade.
Right. No, I agree.
I don't know. But they're gonna remake everything because there's no new ideas.
Listen, if you look at Hollywood, most of the movies that we grew up with, a lot of them were remakes.
And we didn't know it. Yeah.
So Hollywood is always.
Yeah, or we're based on true stories.
Yeah.
Things that I don't know. So yeah, there is. So it's interesting. So we were talking. So we've been talking this whole time. Obviously, one of the things we use for coping is the arts. Movies, books. Listen to a lot of music.
Hey, exercise.
Yeah.
That's another one that I think people and we as Americans need to exercise more anyway.
Yeah. So I don't know about you. So I mean, during the summer, obviously we could go outside, but now that winter's coming, I don't know about you personally. I have an exercise bike in the basement, and I bought a Century Bob, like punching bag. So
Oh, that's cool.
Basically what I plan on using.
Right. Yeah. I had a gym membership, and coronavirus stopped that. And so me and a couple of other people were going to a high school track, and we just, walk and run and do calisthenics while we were walking around the track. And the gym reopened or whatever, and it's like I really didn't see the motivation to go back, because I had dropped 10 pounds while I was out there on the track.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Right on.
Yes, sir. So I mean, yeah, I have to continue to do those things. And yes, it will be cold here shortly, but honestly, I think I'll be okay, man. I think that's one thing that the coronavirus did, prove to me, is that I didn't have to have that gym or whatever to, do those things to lose weight.
Be more active. Yeah.
Yeah. And right. It's one of those things, whether, if you live in Michigan, yeah, it's hard to exercise outside, but Florida, California, Arizona, yeah, you can ride a bike year round pretty much.
Yeah. I have family out in California, so yeah, they get to walk the dog year round.
Right. Yes, sir. Yeah. I mean, so those are things that, people, we need to get back to basics. We shouldn't allow these electronics and, the necessity of having company, bring us down or whatever. Now, I do know that there are a lot of people that don't have family, whatever that may be, if they're estranged,
so
or if they passed away, but they might be suffering because they can't get together with friends. But you can still meet someone outside, maintain social distancing or whatever. It's not the same as going out to dinner or to a movie or something like that, but
absolutely,
you can still do those things.
Yeah. I mean, this situation is temporary, right?
Yep.
So we're using technology in this instance to supplement what we would normally be doing in person. Mm-hmm. So I know, like, one of the things we do to cope, because I've got kids, is that we let our kids get Facebook Messenger. They have Facebook Messenger Kids, which is like Facebook Messenger, but only for kids. So the parents control it, and you get to control who they can talk to and stuff. But we let them use that so that they can talk to their cousins and their friends and do video conference and video chats with them and group chats and stuff like that. So they can all still keep in touch. Right. So they still have a connection to other people. That seems to have worked pretty well for them. My son has also discovered Discord with his friends. So they've been using that, which is funny because I use Discord for stuff. So.
Oh, okay. Now, do you use it for your RPG?
I do, which is one of the things I was going to get to, was that, so for me personally, I have, I get a lot of social interaction through working all day, and being in meetings with other people and stuff. But then I play a lot of D&D online using Roll20 and D&D Beyond. There's a group in Discord. There's a group actually there's a gaming store that I played at for years here over on Hall Road. That also, then when the pandemic hit, they organized online, and they've been doing like virtual.
So what's the game store that you used to go to?
Gamers Guild.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right down the street from me.
Okay, yeah. Yep. Yeah. So we did that for, I DM'd there for and played there for probably since 2015, I think. And then a group of friends of mine and we started playing regularly, and we moved up to Gamers Gauntlet, or no, not Gamers Gauntlet. What was it called? Stomping Grounds, which was up at like Gratiot and 23 Mile, which was actually a better store personally, because the one store, Gamers Gauntlet, is like a big old warehouse. So it's like a big, huge open room, and it's honestly, it's hard to hear.
Right.
I actually have some hearing loss from boxing when I was younger. So I have a hard time hearing in a crowd like that anyway. So we went to this other store that was smaller, more intimate. You could actually hear, people sitting at a table around you. But that store unfortunately closed.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
back
man.
in January, actually, before the pandemic and everything, they went out of business. So
dang it.
Yeah. Which was actually, it's one of the great things. They had this room set up in that gaming store that was perfect for Twitch streaming of like RPG games. They had all these cameras set up around the room, and they had a table with cameras up above the table so you could show your maps, and they had a camera for each player around the table, and it was set up perfectly. It was great.
Wow, man. And they went out of business, huh?
Yeah. They had a couple of groups that were in there that were like broadcasting their games out of there and stuff. And I was trying to get a group of people, like the people I was playing with weren't really interested. So I was trying to find other people that were interested in doing like a broadcast game.
Well, I don't play D&D. I told you before that the system that I use is called Hero Systems.
Right.
But it's funny because of the group of guys that I GM. One of the things that I find is that they're not really into the role playing aspect. And I've had a discussion with another one of my friends or whatever who he loves the role playing side of it. Whereas a lot of people are just the hack and slash, I just want combat. And, I get it. But to me, as someone that has pretty much role played since I was 7th grade.
So you and I are basically the kids from Stranger Things all grown up.
Yeah, I like literally, it's one of those things, right? Where when you first get introduced to it, that's all you're thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that I like to refer to is that as you mature or whatever, and you understand that there's a lot more to this system, you're actually taking on the role. Like, I tried to compare it to, like, do you want to be like the method actor or whatever, or you just, the guy that, like a lot of people make fun of William Shatner, where it's like, Spock,
right?
Like, is really that what you right? Are you like? I just wish more people would understand that, hey, it's a lot more to it, and you can get a lot more in enjoyment out of it if you just dive a little deeper.
Yeah. So honestly, one of the things I did when I was in college, I actually visiting my brother at his college. He was playing D&D, and I went and joined them for a few sessions. He was playing D&D with a group of theater majors. Which was really different because, like you said, like as kids, honestly, a lot of us people play games like that for different reasons. Some people are just into the combat and the strategy. Some people are into the role playing. Some people like a mix of it, you've seen, obviously you've heard of Critical Role.
Yep.
One of the reasons they're so successful is that those are basically actors, they do voice acting. So they're used to taking on a role like that and speaking in someone else's voice. Which is basically, what you're doing. You don't have to do a lot of the physical action of an actor. It's just basically voice acting. But it is one of those things where I've seen some strategies to try to draw people in to doing that kind of stuff, is where like they would say, when you're at the table, you'd have a session 0, right? Where you'd have to come up and you'd say, like, what's your character's voice? And the person, when you kind of make someone come up with a voice for your character, what does he sound like? So when you're at the table, you have to, and you're speaking as your character, you have to speak in that voice. So that everybody knows it's your character speaking and not you.
Right.
That kind of thing makes people start trying to, draw them into the role playing part of it a little bit too.
Yeah, that's good. That's pretty good.
So yeah, I've been doing a lot of that. I'm trying to do more. I did this big game with my my brother and some friends over the summer. Because I had some friend who's a teacher. He's a high school teacher, and so he was off during the summer. So we did this big D&D thing on D&D Beyond and Roll20, and it actually it was a lot of fun. I got my nephew into it. He's been bugging me to want to play again more because he enjoyed it so much. So that was his first time playing. His first time playing D&D, and he was playing on D&D Beyond and Roll20. He was doing it virtually, and he liked it. He thought it was great.
Well, listen, I'm coming up with a new campaign, man. Maybe you'll join or be interested in joining.
Hero systems? Oh man, I don't have to learn a whole new system.
Listen, put it this way. You can learn it or whatever, but again, my focus is more on the role playing aspect of it than just knowing the game mechanics. The game mechanics will come.
Okay. Do you play on Roll20? What do you use?
No, we actually have been meeting in person.
Oh, really?
Wow, yeah. Okay. Yeah. I've tried to do Roll20, man. I don't know how to do it. I like literally, and then you have to apply and everything. So I've applied to 2 games and didn't hear anything back.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. There is a little bit of a learning curve. I honestly am still learning like all the tricks to being a DM on it, because there's a lot. Like you have to go in and kind of prepare the maps first. And there's a guy I was playing with who is better than me at it, and he would go in and place things around the map to make it look better and stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of macros and things you can use to make things run smoother.
Right. I mean, listen, I get it, and I think that is a great. Because you can also, one of the things that I find myself running into is that as I get older, I'm not meeting gamers like I used to. And then I don't know if there's a lot of younger people that are as involved as when I would go up to a place like Gamers Gauntlet or whatever, and it would be people playing D&D, Battle Tech or Battle Mech or whatever. I mean, so you find a wealth of games like, hey, I might not be interested in this, but I'm interested in that.
Right.
I don't see that anymore. Not like I used to.
Well, I mean, the game store is still there. People just aren't going as, I think.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. Like, it's one of those things where I do think that there's people out there that may be interested, but they're not fostering them like you with your nephew. I got introduced to it. I liked, like anime. I like comic books. I liked all of that stuff. And then when I met someone who knew about Champions or whatever, this role-playing game based on supers, that's what got me involved or whatever.
Okay.
But, I'm not so sure that the reception would have been the same if, say, I was 2021 or whatever. And then, I'm not interested. I got other things that I'm worried about now.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. There's a window for getting into it.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, it has been one of those things. I think I'm fortunate. I was already in like the Discord group for the game store, stuff like that. So I already kind of had a group of people for playing, and they still do. Like every Wednesday night, they organize online play. And there's a group of guys actually. So this is funny. I got in a new house a couple of years ago. I moved into a new house, and there was I met one of my neighbors who recognized me. He's like, Kyle. I'm like, do I know you? I didn't recognize him right away. I'm not the greatest person with names. I'm pretty good with faces. Like there's a lot of people I recognize that like, oh, I've seen you somewhere. He's like, yeah, it's me. He's told me his name. He's like, you've DM'd me a few times at the game store. He's like, because I would do like Adventure League DMing. So it would be like people would drop in, drop out. It would be like a different group of people every week.
Right.
And so he informed me like, yeah, like he's actually someone that I had DM'd for a few times. And then he pointed out that there's like 2 other people in my neighborhood who are also gamers that I DM'd for at the store. We played a couple of times earlier this year, but then they kind of went off and they started doing a different system.
Right.
That I can't remember the name of it right now. I don't know that it's Heroes. But it was a system that it's like lets you do multiple genres, that kind of thing.
GURPS.
No, it wasn't GURPS. No, I know.
What about there's this one called the Age system. They have like Modern Age, Fantasy Age.
Yeah, no, I mean it's similar to that because you can basically apply it to any genre of story.
Yeah, and right. I like the hero system. That's what I like. The one that I'm doing now is a Star. It's called Star Hero, where is funny. The campaign, the PCs, some of them were astronauts. They went on a space mission, like 1,100 years or so prior to now. And it was only supposed to be like maybe 700 years. But one of the science geeks, one of the PCs said he was wrong in his calculations. But they met an alien race that I want to say they're almost like the alien body snatchers or whatever. And they found out the location of Earth. And so the PCs hurried back to Earth to warn them about the pending invasion or whatever, but didn't realize that Earth had already had alien contact, which had changed Earth. And now Earth is a corporatocracy.
Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So, like, it's not now? It's basically the same.
Well, maybe like, 2,000 years from now. But yeah.
So the only difference is it's alien corporation.
Well, Earth actually had been devastated with the after the war with the aliens when they kicked them off. But
we got taken over by Space Amazon.
So we've been doing this campaign for over a year now, and now the PCs, like the aliens, have finally showed up, or they're about to show up, and the PCs are leaving Earth.
They're just gonna leave.
Well, I hate to say it, but and we had to role play through this. They didn't do any warning of Earth.
They didn't tell anybody.
They didn't tell anybody because they got back or whatever, and they're fighting these corporations. And it was just like, well, we were busy. I'm like, yeah, you were so busy that you didn't even warn people. Like, yeah, there's some aliens coming. You might want to get right.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So, yeah. What else? So, what else have you been doing to?
Actually, man, I've been doing a lot of working.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I was working last night. I probably put in a good 9 hours yesterday, man. Not because I wanted to. It was just something that I had to get done.
Yeah. Oh, I hear you. Yeah. I was supposed to do a change for work at 1 a.m. last night.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I worked a way around it, so I didn't have to get up at 1 a.m.
Well, that's good. Yeah. But I mean, I think everybody just has to find their happy place. A lot of people, they're different. One person might take joy in working. Another person might take time spending with family or whatever. Another person might, like watching movies. Now, I like going to the movies as well, but I went to the movie theater one time when they were open, and it sucked. It literally sucked, man, because it's not that it wasn't that, I didn't enjoy the movie so much. It was just that like the way, like where you had to sit, to be socially distant from people. They didn't have a lot of menu items. It was like literally popcorn, nachos, and a drink.
Yeah.
I that's not the movies to me. And not to say like I want to be in a packed theater or whatever, but it was just, and then the movie times, like, one of the things I liked about going to the movies and or whatever is like going early, like, especially if I was off, like the first movie would be anywhere from 10 to 11 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Right. Now, the earliest movie that you might find is like, 5 o'clock in the evening.
Oh, okay.
So it's like,
it's really,
right. So I didn't like that, man. It's not the same. So I get it. People have been affected. If something that you really enjoy, you're no longer, and some people like going to the gym. A lot of gym owners were defying the governor's orders or whatever, but they were getting fined for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to find a way to cope, and I don't know. It's not the same. It's not the same for everyone. You have to find out what works for you.
I will say that I think that it's important to get involved in something that you're passionate about. It's important to find something that you enjoy and immerse yourself in it. I also think it's one of those things where the things that are especially helpful, I think, are things where you're building something, things where you're making something, keeps you especially occupied, gives you a sense of purpose, a sense of accomplishment, which is, hard in these times. But anything, depends on what it is. For me, it might be a podcast / YouTube channel, or
just meeting with a friend.
What's that?
Just meeting with a friend and talking about things.
Exactly. Yeah. But which is funny because this is the enjoyable part, right? Like we meet for an hour or so and we talk and it's fun. And then there's the 3 hours of video editing and swearing at the computer afterwards. And
Hey, well, you know what, Kyle? Hopefully, man, it will be a lot easier today.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been trying a bunch of different programs for video editing. Because I'm not a video editor by any means. They don't really have anybody to ask. So I've just
if we have any listeners that may be proficient in video editing, drop us an email or a message. Let us know. We could use your help.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure if I put the time in, like I could learn like Adobe Premiere or something, but it's one of those things. If I put the time in and I learn Adobe Premiere, I almost feel like I need to go get my, my investment back by getting a job doing it, because I could probably get a pretty decent job.
Hey, but Kyle, this may actually turn into our full-time job. Yeah. We might get enough viewers and enough clicks, man, to pay us, man, to take off from our jobs.
And I'll be happy if we just get enough money to buy me a coffee.
Yeah. I mean, by the time we get any money, it's like, hey, Kyle, I'm in the retirement home. I can't work this thing.
Hey, you made $1. It's I do think it's important though, like different people do different things. My wife during this really, she does different projects around the house, either redoing a room completely or like redoing furniture, that kind of stuff. I know other people who we have an in-law who is very much into homeschooling her kids. So she puts a lot of energy into that and a lot of creativity. So,
wow.
Whatever it is that you enjoy, you find, it's the kind of thing you've got to lean into.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. You're right. Just don't get discouraged.
Well, yeah, it's easy to, but just, remember I don't remember if this is a biblical story or not, but I remember learning it in Catholic school. For some reason in the back of my head, it goes back to a story to King David or something, but I don't know, the story of the king who asked for, someone to tell him one true thing, thing that's true all the time. And, the winner was the person who came and basically said, this too shall pass. That's the one statement that's true in all situations.
Right. Oh yeah. I mean, listen, we talked about the US going through a pandemic before. This isn't anything new. We just have to try to get through it the best that we can. When you think about the numbers of people that are infected with this, I think we're at just north of 13 million now cases. But I think about that in the context of the entire populace of the U.S. That's not a lot of people, and you already see where our healthcare systems are strained right now. And we're talking about less than 10% of the populace. So that's why people have to be aware of what they can do on a self basis to protect and not, add themselves to that number of infected. It's hard. It's a sacrifice, but think about who you're helping.
Something that I'm not sure how true this is because I didn't double check it, but I had read something recently that said that of the recent infections here in Michigan, and this was probably a month ago, they said that something like 55% of the infections came from people doing retail shopping.
Oh, wow.
You know, so be careful.
Right. Yeah.
You know, you got to think think twice about whether you really need to go to Hobby Lobby or whatever, you know.
I went to Meyer. What day was that? I want to say it might have been Wednesday. And there was a guy in there, and he had like his mask had like the tie strings. He had the top strings tied and the bottom like it was the mask was just hanging. Yeah. And I'm thinking like, dude, if you sneeze, that's not protected anybody. That's not protected. Right. That's ridiculous. Like, you know, like, come on, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least he was wearing something because he
was wearing something, but it was
depends on where you go. I mean, I try to go to certain stores that I know are going to be like, I go to Costco a lot because I know Costco has been really good about enforcing that kind of stuff.
Right.
I've seen them straight up telling people, you know, with trying to get in without masks.
Yeah.
You know, nope.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yep. Yeah. You can't come in here.
Yeah. And so I go there if I go shopping. If I do go shopping, I try to go, you know, at an off hour.
All right.
In and out.
Yeah, that's good.
That kind of thing. But it's going out. I used to love going people shopping. You know, people watching was one of my favorite things. I just go shopping, just go, you know, go to the mall, sit in the food court, and watch the, you know, the people. Go to Walmart, go watch the people of Walmart. You know, but,
you know. Not anymore, huh? Right. Yeah. Hey, how much money have you spent on masks, man?
So my wife made a bunch of masks, and then we bought a few different. So I mean, I've probably spent less than $100.
Yeah, I spent
I mean, I bought a box of disposable ones from Costco, and I bought some. Let's see where to go. I have some Dungeons and Dragons ones.
Oh my goodness.
I don't have one right here with me, but yeah, I have. So I bought some that say, you know, stay in and play in. You know, it's got a dragon on it. Kind of cool.
Yeah, I probably spend less than 100, but I know I probably spent more than 50. Like I bought this one mask. I was kind of mad, man, because when I saw it on Facebook, I was like, "Oh, that'll be great. Look at this, man. Look at this thing. It doesn't. It's not a tight seal right here. And I mean, I understand people's faces are different, but I'm like, you know, I was really hoping that, you know, that this would work. Like, you know, it's kind of open down here too.
Yeah.
But I'm like,
I mean,
it'll protect people from me somewhat, you know, if I sneeze.
Yeah. But I've seen like waiters wearing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Before. It's funny, actually. We were watching the Thanksgiving parade the other day. I don't know if you saw that.
No.
That was actually kind of interesting. So personally, back to Thanksgiving for a second. I personally grew up watching like the parades every Thanksgiving morning, right? Like I'd get up and we would flip back and forth between the Macy's and the Detroit parade. And they didn't do the Detroit parade this year, but they did do the Macy's parade, but they did it in a really different way. I thought it was kind of interesting. It was sponsored by Verizon. And so they had Verizon streaming the whole thing. The whole parade was basically like a block, like going around like a single, you know, it wasn't like this long route. And they had all the floats basically going over this. They had painted this certain section of the road in front of theater in New York, in front of Macy's. I think it was right in front of the store, Macy's. They painted it green, and all the floats and the acts and stuff would take turns going over that spot where all the cameras were focused, and then they do their act or whatever, and then they'd move on. And that was the whole thing, because there's no live audience.
Right.
So there's no one to, you know, on the road to parade pass. So they would just kind of go in a circle around a block, and they'd all go to the spot and do their thing and then move on.
Oh, man.
It was really different, but I was glad that they did it, you know,
Right.
They did a lot of different things. Instead of having people holding the balloons, they would have them attached to like ATVs. So they'd have like 4 or 5 ATVs instead of 100 people.
Right.
Which I could see some of this stuff they might continue to do after, but
right.
It was different because it was, you know, I was watching it on YouTube because I don't have cable, so I stream. So I was watching the live stream of Verizon, and then I was flipping back and forth between a couple other streams. There was the EarthCam webcam stream that was showing the staging area, so you could see where they were lining up to get ready to go on that green spot, and you could see how it was all basically just a really short parade route. You know, they basically just go in a big circle. And then I was flipping between, there was another stream of a guy who lives there who was streaming his efforts to try to see the thing live. And he was showing how far back they were keeping the crowd, which I thought was interesting. Like he was showing like where they had the barrier set up, and the parade was like way down there.
Right. Oh, wow.
The thing that sucked, though, the thing that they were totally, I mean, it would have been really interesting except for one massive flaw.
What's that?
Verizon, for whatever reason, in their live stream of the parade, had no audio of the acts. They had some background music playing. There was like Christmas elevator music, but you couldn't hear the acts.
Yeah.
And it was,
and a lot of those are bands and everything, right?
Yeah. And they'd have like bands or singing acts or stuff like that. And if you're watching the Verizon live stream, you just couldn't hear any of it.
No,
that was just, and funny, I didn't know if it was just me. And so I went on Twitter, and because Verizon was posting this on Twitter, you know, like, hey, check out the Thanksgiving parade live stream. And I looked in the comments. I went there basically to say like, hey, why can't I hear and I saw like 1,000 other people had already said it before me, you know.
Oh man.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm glad they did it. It was different, you know. It was one bit of normalcy for Thanksgiving, you know, at least.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, that's a tradition that a lot of people have. I know that you know, my wife and I took the kids one Thanksgiving down to Detroit. It actually snowed that year. But just, you know, to say, hey, let's watch the Thanksgiving Day parade.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think that everybody should, you know, continue those traditions in whatever way, shape, or form that you can. You know, again, the crowds are not going to be there because of the current situation or whatever, but that's no reason why you can't watch.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Gives everybody the chance to still perform, you know.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, man. Well, I think we're at our time limit.
Okay. Well, it was fun, Kyle. I appreciate the talk that we had today.
Yeah, honestly, I think we should do this again. This like you know, maybe if we wanted to do more. So this was the, you know, coping mechanisms episode. I'm not sure what we'll call it actually. But yeah, if you want to do more episodes focused on specific topics.
Hey, and if anyone has a specific topic that you'd like us to cover, you know, let us know.
Yeah, please.
Yep.
Leave a comment.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, you know, we used to have an actual scripted closing when we were doing our podcast.
We used to be so much better when we were younger, man.
We were polished. Yeah. Well, all right. Good talking to you. We're going to be those two old people who just don't even say goodbye anymore. They hang
What's that, Kyle? Well, hey, you know what? We'll get better, man. We'll up the production values.
Yes. Yeah. We're working on it.
We are.
One webcam at a time. All right, man. Have a good.
All right, brother.
And
hey, you too.
Signing off.
All right. Later.